So therefore, that comparison that has been, at least by politicians, some politicians like Rahul Gandhi, for example, made that comparison with Sri Lanka, saying that India could go the Sri Lanka way. An exaggeration, you would say, or just not the right comparison to make?
I would say there's a different reason than today is saying we'll go the Sri Lanka way because of our current economic situation. I think we're far from that. But I would say that on another element, which is on the issue of minorities and their place in the nation, Sri Lanka certainly had a large minority, the Tamils. And in the 80s, when they had a problem of jobless growth, politicians found it particularly easy to deflect some of the attention to the problem of minorities, and made a bogeyman out of the Tamils, essentially creating the kind of strife that resulted in civil war and eventually in a huge problem for Sri Lanka. I would say the roots of Sri Lanka's current economic problems lie in that troubled history of the past. Otherwise, they were actually quite a successful middle-income country. And I think Mr. Gandhi, certainly in pointing out the parallels, is talking as much about the fact that we are sort of in danger of demonizing our minorities and creating the kind of internal strife that leads nowhere good. And I would say that, to my mind, is the lesson from Sri Lanka. Let us work for communal harmony and unity of the country. That will serve us well, not just in protecting us from the kinds of incidents that took place in Sri Lanka, but also will be strong for the economy. But I would say, it's as much for the integrity of the country as for anything else.
Well, most importantly for the integrity of the country, and I think for all of us as a society. But I just wanted to get a sense from you that when there is this kind of communal strife that makes headlines around the world, when investors look at it, what do they think? I mean, how does it in fact affect the investment climate potentially? What is the potential effect it could have for India?
Well, people worry, right? Because first, they certainly do think about the consequences down the line. Days when their factories can't function because of problems. Now, we are not there yet. Let me emphasize that we are some distance away from that, but it is something that we should start worrying about, given the kind of fuel that is being fed to this fire by some of our politicians. But I think the other thing they think about is, do I really want to do business with a country which undermines its minorities, mistreats its minorities? Certainly when you look at China and what they've done with the Uyghurs, they have got a lot of pushback in the United States, in Europe, from their treatment of the Uyghurs. There are now sanctions against goods that are produced there, but there are also increasingly motions by shareholders saying we want you to stop doing business in these areas with these kinds of people and so on. So my sense is civil society also plays a part once these things become really prominent and it becomes problematic for a country, especially if it wants to engage. Certainly at the politician-to-politician level, they may overlook some of these things because of realpolitik. They really want to, work with you because there's a third party you're both enemies with. But when it comes to civil society in these countries, they also play a role, and it is important to have an image of being a tolerant, respectful democracy. I think that serves us well.
Well,